Hi, hello, and welcome to your favorite Average Good podcast, Call It What You Want, brought to you today by Zillow. Someday starts today. Look at us. We have a good to great sponsor now on the show. I'm Jimmy Conrad alongside Charlie Davies and Big Tones. Great show for everyone today. We got some huge news to talk about, including one Pellegrino Matarazzo absolutely getting after it with Real Sociedad. I got their kit on today. So if you're watching on the Golazo Network or on our YouTube channel, Golazo America, or listening right now, just know that I am wearing La Real in support of our American manager doing great things. We had some other midweek action for some of our players, most notably Jedi Robinson getting a full 90 minutes for Fulham, even though they did not win the game. And, of course, we got some other good stuff, as we do. Big Tones, great to see you. We had Marcelo Balboa back with us on Tuesday. Now you're with us. How are you feeling? I know you're a little bit under the weather. Looking good, sharp.
I'm feeling all right, man. Still got a little bit of a cough, but getting over that flu that's been kicking everybody's ass. So I appreciate Marcelo jumping in, and yeah, you don't have to get such good guys to fill in next time, Jimmy. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, they don't have to be so good. No, it's great to see him. Always great to get his perspective. I was watching. I was going to make a couple comments, but I'm like, I don't really have the energy to do it right now.
I knew you were good. I knew you were good because you were talking about wrestling alligators on Sirius XM with Dunny. So I knew you're in good spirits.
One of my bucket list things to do, but yeah, that's for a different show.
The rumor is that Mike Grella, who is part of the Golazo Network and CBS Sports family, he's the one getting everybody sick. So we're just gonna have to blame Mike Grella. He's taking a stray here, but that's just how it goes.
I'm the only one because I was around him, but I avoided all of this. I don't know how. Everybody went down, and I was just bobbing
and weaving
straight up.
I absolutely love it. All right, so we got this big news against Pellegrino Matarazzo. He's the first American to be in a cup final. Real Sociedad outlasted Atletico Bilbao over two legs to book their ticket against Atletico Madrid. We think we're pretty smart, but not as smart as our guest is going to be joining us right now. We got Big Phil Kitromilides joining us, LaLiga expert, one of the most handsome men. I don't even know if we should allow him on the show because he's so good looking. Phil, welcome back. Great to see you as always.
Thanks, guys.
Hey. Okay, so we got Atletico Madrid and Real Sociedad advancing to the Copa del Rey final. A big deal for both. Atleti tried to give up their 4-0 first leg lead against Barcelona and barely lost. Well, they lost 3-0, but almost gave that one away. But for us, the big story is Pellegrino Matarazzo. He's only been in charge for a couple months, and he's completely turned it around for La Real. What's the perception? How has the perception changed about him and his influence on La Liga in general?
Yeah, I remember, guys, we spoke when he took over, which was just before Christmas. I think it was like 2 days before Christmas, and he'd just taken over. And the general feeling around Spain and Real Sociedad fans and the city of San Sebastian was kind of like, who's this guy? Who's this guy? Where's he come from? Yeah. People didn't really know who he was. They weren't aware of the stuff that he'd done in Germany. It was kind of a step into the unknown. And fast forward to this morning when I was listening to Spanish radio and one of the reporters who covers Real Sociedad saying we should build a stadium for this. We should build a statue for this guy outside the stadium. So it's taken just over 2 months to go from who the hell is this guy to let's build him a statue. He's done an incredible job. I mean, I remember when we spoke, a couple of months ago, I did say to you guys, he's taken over a good squad. Like the squad is underperforming massively. So he has got the tools there to work with. And he has worked with them. Now, I've been speaking to some people up in San Sebastian and people close to the squad. And they've told me that what he did was, it was kind of simple, but it was clear. He came in and the word that he used, that he saw the team, he said, this is a flat team. And it was flat in terms of energy, but also in terms of like their structure on the pitch. He wanted people to move more. He wanted more people to come inside and ask for the ball inside. He wanted more people to break into space. He wanted the team to be more, and there's the Spanish word vertical, which in English, vertical. It's basically like playing on the front foot, isn't it? Like it's not direct, like lumping the ball up. It's playing front foot football. And that's what he's got the team doing. He's also been really good in his communication as well. Like the players have been impressed with the way that he's explained his ideas clearly to them, and they like him. and they respect him as well, which is, really important. I'm not going to go off on a tangent here, but there's another manager at a really big club in Spain, and there are certain question marks about his capacity to do the job. We're talking about Real Madrid, Alvaro Arbeloa. There was all kinds of question marks there. This guy's come in. Nobody really knew who he was in the dressing room, and he has explained his ideas really, really clearly to them. They like him, they respect him, and they're playing for him. He's had a bit of luck. He has had a bit of luck in this run as well, but you need a bit of luck. That's fine. We're not going to hold that against him. That's a good thing for a manager to have a little bit of luck. And it's been an incredible run. Just one defeat in those games, and it was to Real Madrid at the Bernabeu, which you can excuse him. So it's been extraordinary. And the biggest thing is to come, which is the cup final, which I think they've got a decent chance to.
Yeah, the cup final, obviously big. Phil, he's been kind of bullish in a really, really sort of positive way, right? I saw an interview at halftime a couple of weeks ago. They were up 2-1, and he talked about. I'm sorry, it was post game, but he talked about at halftime how he wasn't happy with the team, even though they were up. Like he's been very bullish in like there's still more for this group, 100%. Right? And. It's he says it in a way where like if you're a neutral, you're like I want to go play for that guy, right? That's the guy I want to play for. Do you get that sense? And then just talk about like Real Sociedad being in a cup final this year. What an accomplishment that is.
I mean, just to pick up on what you were saying, that was something else that I was told as well. Like he's come in and he has implemented a certain level of like standards. Like we need to have really high standards. This is what I want. And he's very meticulous about details as well. So I was told like some people, staff around the club are a little bit like, this guy's a little bit of a ball buster because he wants everything as he wants it. He's very meticulous, very careful with the details. But you can't argue with that. When it's getting the results, you cannot argue with that. So absolutely right. The feeling that you got from that interview, Tony, is basically what he's been like. And for Real Sociedad, they did win the Copa del Rey. It was the 2020 edition, which was the COVID edition. They postponed it for nearly a year to try and have fans in it. They beat Athletic Bilbao, so in a Barça derby final in 2021, but there were no fans. So this is the first time they're going to be in a final with fans for 38 years. It's enormous. It's an enormous thing for a big historic club that hasn't been able to enjoy a day like this for a generation. So it's down to Rino Matarazzo, who has taken them to the final. There is also, by the way, I don't know, I'm going off on a tangent here, but there is a song that the Real Sociedad fans have got, which is adapted to the tune of Bad Bunny's Nueva York por la mañana café, por la tarde ron, llévame a Sevilla, Ori Oscarson. Ori Oscarson is the Icelandic striker who's been scoring goals, and Sevilla is where the final is. So take me to amazing. Sevilla, Ori Oscarson. So that's been going on a loop for the last few weeks.
I love that.
And he's taken them to Sevilla,
nice.
and so has Rino Matarazzo as well.
Oh, what a top song! But man, if you're a player and you hear that in the stands,
yeah, right.
How are you not banging in a hat trick a game?
There's a great image of him after the game last night going to the fans with a megaphone, and they were singing it all together after the game. Amazing. So yeah, good scenes.
That'll live with you forever. So
yeah, right.
talk to me about if Real Sociedad win the Copa del Rey.
Oof.
And how likely is it for them to get into a European place? They're 5 points out. They have I'd say a favorable schedule. They don't have to play Barca or Real. What do you think the odds are that they can get into the top six?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it happen before. I saw it with actually Athletic Bilbao a few years ago. They won the Copa del Rey. So the Copa is on the 18th of April. And once you win that, it's kind of like job done. It's not like relax, but we've just won this historic cup. So they might take their eye off the ball. I don't think Rino would let them. To be fair, I think he feels like the kind of guy who wouldn't allow that to happen. But I think there is a chance that if they win this unbelievable trophy, they were just above the relegation zone when he took over. They were 16th. They were wildly underperforming. So to go from that to winning the Copa del Rey, I think there would be a chance that even just like on a subconscious level, you would like decompress and just feel like our job is done for the season. But it's a World Cup year. There are players who in that Real Sociedad team who are playing to get into World Cup squads and to be in good form as well. So they'd want to keep it going. But yeah, if they win that cup, wow! By the way, this weekend is Atletico Madrid Real Sociedad. So we've got in La Liga,
a little precursor.
So we've got a little precursor as well. And Atletico Madrid was the first game for Matarazzo in charge when he took over, and it finished 1-1. So he'll have a good idea of what to expect.
Any more news on knowing Atletico Madrid's situation with Griezmann? Is he staying? Have there been any more? Because in my mind, you want to close out that career with a trophy, and Copa del Rey seems like it's right there, so you're not gonna leave early. But also, have you heard anything?
Against Real Sociedad, who were his first club in Spain, so it would be like a nice way to close the circle. What I've heard in the last sort of 24 hours is that he's actually closer to leaving now than he is to staying, which seems crazy. It seems difficult for people to get their heads around, but obviously you guys know better than any of us listening that footballers are human beings, and you have desires and family and external pressures as well. So, Antoine Griezmann has wanted to play in the US for a very, very, very long time. It's been his dream. He might feel like this is too good an opportunity to pass up. If he does go, he kind of dents his legacy a little bit at Atletico Madrid. He's their all-time leading goal scorer. He already left in slightly controversial circumstances to go to Barcelona, made a documentary about it, which didn't go down very well. So if he was to leave again like this, people would be a little bit disappointed. So, but yeah, I think he's pretty close to joining Orlando, but we'll see. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think maybe, there's reports coming out, Phil, that his move might be on hold. He must have saw Orlando City play their first 2 match days and was like, you know what? I can wait. I can wait a few months. No, they desperately need him. And I think, obviously, he's going to make a big splash when he does decide.
I mean, that makes more sense, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does. And why not just see it
more sense?
Yeah, just see it out, right? And then maybe come after the World Cup. So, Phil, let's talk about – now, we should say that Reno – the manager of La Real, that's his nickname, Pellegrino Matarazzo. He's from New Jersey, and there's another New Jersey.
Great state of New Jersey, Jim.
Great state of New Jersey. Excuse me, big tones. In the great state of New Jersey, Johnny Cardoso was born, and now he will also be in the final. Reno's not the only American in this final. He'll be playing for Atleti. Let's talk about Johnny, because it seems like he's getting more trust, more minutes from Diego Simeone, his manager at Atleti. I mean, it's a big deal to have 2 Americans in the same final for different reasons, but excited for Johnny to kind of have put his stamp on things and to get that trust.
I'm excited for New Jersey. I mean, this is
it's a great state of New Jersey.
Where the World Cup final will be,
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Bergen County, no? This is big for Johnny to be getting minutes. There was an article in the paper a couple of days ago, and the headline was Johnny begins to resemble Cardoso again, and he's getting more minutes. He's started the last 3 games. Johnny Cardoso last season was the second in La Liga for interceptions. This was a really, really strong player who put up some huge numbers, and because of serious injury problems and lack of fitness and form and rhythm, this debut season hasn't gone according to plan with Diego Simeone. I remember the last time that we spoke, which was around Christmas as well. We spoke about him, and I said I think he will end up, getting into the first team in this season for Atletico Madrid, because he is a player that Diego Simeone wanted, specifically requested, liked a lot, and believes in. I think we've seen some of that belief in some of the games that he's played. He started him in big games. He's played away at Barcelona in the league, away at Barcelona in the Cup. He started against Inter Milan. He started the last 3 games in the league as well. So he's getting some rhythm. Obviously, he's been given a chance perhaps in that midfield. The fact that Pablo Barrios has been out injured for Atletico Madrid, he's still got a few more weeks to go. So we'll see whether or not he manages to force himself into the starting 11 for that Copa del Rey final. But it's generally a positive curve upwards for Johnny Cardoso in what has been a tricky first year for sure.
Hey Phil, I know everyone wants to win a final, right? I mean, it's clearly what you're there for, but who needs this final more? Is it because I feel like Cholo Simeone needs he always, because they don't win the league all the time and they don't win Champions League, they're not in finals, even though they're the team that's always around the conversation. I feel like he always has to put something in the trophy case. But this is such a great Pellegrino Matarazzo story.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of need, I would say Atletico Madrid need a trophy more than Real Sociedad. I mean, we've had loads of different winners over the last 7 years of the Copa del Rey. Real Betis have won it, Valencia have won it, Athletic Bilbao have won it, Real Madrid and Barcelona have won it. These guys have not. Atletico Madrid haven't. So, they haven't been to a final in 13 years. They've underperformed in this tournament, which is a viable way of getting some silverware. We know how difficult it is to try and overcome the giants of Real Madrid and Barcelona in the league. So finishing third is kind of, par for the course for them. But getting a piece of silverware would be absolutely massive for them. Real Sociedad are not expected to wins trophies. They're not really expected to challenge for trophies. So if they were to win it, it would just be an immense bonus for them. So I would definitely say that in terms of pressure, it's all on Atletico Madrid and Diego Simeone going into this final.
It's got to help that Atletico Madrid also have Champions League on the horizon versus Tottenham, and then which could set up a Barcelona matchup. And
that's pretty easy.
It's a little distraction out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they should get through the game against Spurs pretty easily.
Yeah, Phil,
I can say that because I'm a Spurs fan.
You're Spurs, Phil.
Yeah, he's a Spurs fan. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Please don't ask me to talk about Spurs. Please.
No.
All right, fine. Talk about Arsenal then.
That was cruel. Yeah. No. Let's talk about anything else apart from those two teams,
back
please.
to Atleti then.
Yeah.
They get past the round of 16, most likely going to face Barcelona in the next round. I agree with Chuck. This is going to be a bit of a distraction and could favor La Real in the final. Yeah,
for sure. And also it's been a really busy calendar for Atletico Madrid because they had to play the playoff round in the Champions League as well. So they have had basically games every 3 days for the last month, and they've got games every 3 days coming up now for a while. So I think they will probably be more fatigued going into this final for sure. And they've probably got more players going off on international duty as well on the next international break. So yeah, I mean, maybe it's all building up to a Pellegrino, lifting the title.
Well, you hope that to happen. So the final again, April 18th. So we're gonna put you on the hot seat here. Last question, Phil, and we appreciate your time. What's your prediction then? Given everything that we just said, and to put you on the hot seat, like I mentioned, who do you think wins that final?
Atletico Madrid win on penalties.
Ooh,
that sounds about right.
That's a good one. Hey, but actually, there's one comment here that I find interesting. It's from Reed G, saying, Do I have Cardoso making the cut for the U.S. men's national team, or what does he need to do to bump the person above him? And I don't know if you've seen this while he's been at Atletico Madrid, but with the national team, his form has been well below average, not even average. And then Real Betis, he did well, comes over the national team, still didn't translate. Now at Atletico, I'd say his form had not been great, and I know he's been battling injuries. But would you say that his performances now are convincing enough to say, not only is he Atletico Madrid level, but he deserves a spot in the U.S. men's national team?
I would say that maybe not quite there yet. I would say I think people want him to be good. I think people want to see in his performances an improvement. I would say he's not set the world alight yet. But let's give him a little margin. He has had, serious injury problems. And I know you're talking about when he was at Betis, it's been a while that he hasn't translated that form into the US men's national team. This season, those injuries have definitely impeded his rhythm and his development. But yeah, I mean, I was getting excited and saying, he started those last 3 games. It's not been amazing. It's been slightly better than before.
There have been little moments here and there. You say, "Oh, okay,"
but scored a goal against in the Champions
League. High
level.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But no, it hasn't been super high. It hasn't been anything to get wildly excited about yet.
Well, Phil, thank you so much for your time. We hopefully be joining us after
we'll speak after the final, right?
Yeah. We'll get you on. We want to talk about a big preview for the final, or we'll talk post to see the fallout from everything. But man, if Reno could get a statue, that would be a very big deal. All right, we're going to take our first break of the show.
Thanks,
when
Phil.
we come back, we got some other news to get into, like always. So keep it right here.
Top man.
This is why we do this every March.
Major slam! It is a basketball party. It's March! Expect the unexpected!
Yeah, I'd say about every other day I wasn't sure if this was going to happen or not. A lot of twists and turns, and it was definitely a long process and a lot of emotion, behind it. But I think the biggest sense of relief that I'm finally here, finally got to see everybody in person. It's been a great, first few days here, just meeting everybody. Everybody's been so kind and helpful, and yeah, just very happy and excited to get started.
All right, those are the words of U.S. men's national team striker Josh Sargent, who has now made his move official from Norwich to Toronto FC and MLS. And welcome back into the show. This is Call It What You Want, sponsored and brought to you by Zillow. Someday starts today. Look at us. Good to great sponsors. Look at us. We're growing. I think we're evolving.
You always know how to market. You know how to market things.
Okay, check Jason Chuck. That's not my nickname. But Tom Jimmy Conrad alongside Chuck and Big Tones. Listen, so Josh Sargent comes into the league for $22 million, the third most expensive transfer in the history of the league. Heung-min Son is first. Emmanuel Latelaf is second, though it's the same amount as Josh Sargent. You got Rodrigo De Paul in fourth. So he's in the top 10, Josh Sargent. You got Thiago Almada.
44 million spent on championship strikers.
Chuck, I wonder how much you would have cost back in the day. like if you came in now and everything was at peak, form. Yeah. Well, I assume you think you're worth more than 22 million. I guess I'm saying
I in my mind I would have stayed in Europe, but that's a different conversation.
Sure.
Yeah.
For 22 million, let's start here. Let's frame the conversation this way. For $22 million, what do you expect number-wise from a striker at that rate?
20 goals.
20 goals.
20 goals. In MLS, if you're getting a team to spend 20 million plus on you, that's not your salary. Goals.
That's so you're basically spending $1 million a goal. Yeah, $1 million a goal.
Of course, it's not your salary, but you're a team is spending
it costs
20
even more,
million.
Right? Yeah, yes, right.
20 million or more to bring you in.
20 goals.
To me, that's 20 goals.
Like minimum 20 goals.
If we're gonna be realistic and real and be like, all right, you have to score at least this. It'd be 15 goals. Let's be honest.
Okay, 15 and what? Like 5 to 10 assists. Like you need to have at least 20 to 25 goal contributions.
Yeah. I mean, but if you're a striker, and Josh Sargent is one of those players who can create for others. So you're not just let's say it's Zlatan Ibrahimovic or Olivier Giroud. You're not looking for assists from them, even though they can, right? You're thinking about goals. You're a striker in the box, and finishing. Erling Haaland, you're not expecting him to have 10 assists. You want him to have 30, 40, 50 goals if he was playing in MLS. But I think in Josh Sargent's cases, just open up the attacking third, and you got to be responsible for scoring. Everything is going to be put on his shoulders when you spend that type of money in MLS. Remember, this is a selling league, quote unquote. So if you're going to go out and buy an attacking talent, which typically is a foreign attacking talent, not an American.
Lorenzo Insigne and Bernadeschi.
Well, but also consider the age. So he's going into his prime at 26 years old. He has already been in team of the season and championship. You would expect him to come and be peaking for Toronto and have that type of goal production.
Okay. Tones,
would you not expect that?
No, I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you. But let's say Toronto's in a rebuild right now. They're working on it. But we've seen teams flip things pretty quick. Vancouver Whitecaps are a great example. And the Whitecaps just decimated Toronto FC this past weekend. There was only one team on the field, and Toronto wasn't one of them. Tones, what do you say about this?
Yeah, I think 20 goal contributions per 15 have to be goals. I mean, you're brought here to score goals. I worry about how much creation he's going to get out of goals. I don't see Josh Sargent as a guy that's creating for himself, right? So you're going to need some help along the way. So they got to build around him. Me personally, I would look at this as a longer term thing. 4 years, he becomes one of the top strikers in the league, and they win something along the way. Like I think something's got to be won along the way with, if Josh Sargent scores 15, 20 goals a year and they finish, 6th place every year, 8th place in the Eastern Conference, what's that really mean in the end? We brought a goal scorer in, or we're doing all of this because we're trying to get back to the Toronto FC that we saw, from 10
Bradley,
years ago.
Josie.
Like that's the days that you're trying to get back to, right? Or you're not really spending that much money. You're not going out and spending, $22 million for him to be good, right?
Remember they brought Mihailovic over, right, Tones?
Yeah,
so Mihailovic was getting numbers, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of, you said chance creation, Mihailovic is going to be responsible for creating those opportunities, and
for some of it, for sure,
and most of it, I'd say.
Well, you got Daniel Shalloway, who's the captain of Kansas City. I mean, he's shown enough that he can create chances. I understand that, but he can at least do something.
He's not making the final ball. Like, he's not a Carlos Heel. Mihailovic is the one who's supposed to be the number 10, the creative guy, so he can open up back lines and find Josh Sargent. So again, it goes back to Josh Sargent. The expectation is he's scoring 15 to 20 goals every season. Now, do they win? Do they put together a championship roster? That's a whole nother discussion. But in terms of his impact in MLS, which is favorable to attacking players, because most of the rosters they're heavily spent on the front three, that you would expect for him to get his goals.
Yeah, I think what's interesting with their roster build, Big Tones, they bring in Walker Zimmerman, so you get an older center back who got a lot of experience. Obviously, you got Jonathan Osorio, who plays for the Canadian national team. I like his game a lot. He's your captain, sits in the 6 in front of the 4. You've added Cifuentes, who was good at LAFC, and now he's here with Toronto. Shalloway, Mihailovic, Derek Etienne Jr. I like these guys. Like, there's a good roster connection. They let go of Sean Johnson, which I think might bite them, because their goalkeeper they brought in now, big guy and good shot stopper, but already made a mistake in one of these first 2 games, and maybe not as steady as maybe they would need. So we'll see. But it feels like on paper they've got something. Now it's up to Robin Fraser and his staff to maximize it. They go to FC Cincinnati this weekend. They could be 0 wins and 3 losses to start the season. And I don't know if Josh Sargent is going to come in and be the immediate cure for that.
Yeah, and that's why I think you got to, for me personally, I got to look longer term. Like, I know they spent money on him. Like, for example, Latte Lot. I get the sense it's not working out, right? They're not getting better. He's not scoring goals. Now, I know he had the injuries last year. Like, Josh Sargent has to take a different path, right? He has to make this team better, because I think Toronto is one of those teams that always had ambitions of winning things, just like Atlanta United. And I think, I think he'll score goals in this league. Every indication leads you to believe that he will once he gets his feet underneath him. But I think there has to be something attached to it, because I can't imagine that you think of Inter Miami. You spent $1 gazillion on Lionel Messi. What would it have all been worth it in the end if they didn't win anything? Like, you would have just had I don't know, Charlie.
I would argue.
No, we would have hammered Inter Miami. We would have
but at the end of the day,
if
you looked at those owners and you said, was it worth it? And Inter Miami jerseys are all over the world.
I get that
recognition, like, from a business
with no
standpoint.
trophy,
we're not talking
we
about...
would have killed them. We
still would have killed them.
Yeah.
But
we would have destroyed them.
Anybody in the world would have said it was worth it. It's worth the risk. It's worth it.
Worth the risk is different. Worth the risk is different than is it worth it, right? Worth the risk, no doubt about it. You take the best player in the world, you bring him to your team, and you hope that you win something in the end. I mean, the Moss brothers, all they've spoken about since bringing him in was winning things, being the best team. And to be the best team, you have to win something. So they won MLS Cup. Now he talks about winning.
Shield, then that.
Yeah. And they talk about winning. He calls champions, right? So Champions CONCACAF Cup. I just think in Toronto, this isn't worth it in the end. If Josh Sargent scores 20 goals every year for the next 4 years, and they do nothing in the league. Now get to a final, win an Eastern Conference, battle for a supporter shield, whatever it is, they got to do something. If they just linger in 6th or 7th place every year, is it worth it?
No, because I'll tell you.
But Josh scored 20 goals a year. Great.
Yeah, but it's not worth it from a business standpoint either. At least if you don't win a trophy, even though you're saying, hey, that's going to justify
I'm talking
it.
on the field. I'm not talking about jerseys I'm talking on the field. Like jerseys, I get it. It's Lionel Messi. That's not what you brought Josh Sargent for, obviously. No. It'll help. They'll sell some. That's not what, but I think something has to. You have to be dominant at some point in the Eastern Conference over the next couple of years. And they've done this before, right? It's not like, and even when they weren't doing it, it's not like they weren't spending money. Jimmy, you joked about the 2 Italian guys coming over, right? But they were spending money. It just didn't work out, right? It wasn't like they put their hands in their pocket and never took them out. They did. They went and spent money. I just think in the end, if Josh goes and scores 20 goals a year, and they're lingering in the Eastern Conference for the next couple of years, like
for me, that's not on Josh then.
Yeah. It would validate his job,
right?
Yeah, he did
right. But then you look at how the team was built and the deals that they were handing out. That's trash. Then you go, whoever's the architect behind the scenes, terrible decisions and acquiring players, terrible decisions and releasing players and so forth. So again, yet to be seen, is to be determined on what happens with this team. But so far, I wouldn't be backing Toronto in any way, given
right now,
the team that they've been putting out.
What's interesting for me is their schedule. I hadn't really looked at it through fine-tooth comb or whatever the phrase is. But the first game was away to Dallas. They were down. They got back to 2-2. Then they gave up a late goal to Musah, and they lost Peter Musah they lost 1-3-2. They go to Vancouver. They lost that one 3-0. Never really in the game. Now they go to FC Cincinnati in match day 3. And we could see and wouldn't be surprised if they lost that one too. So now they're 3 games, 3 losses. Their next 9 games, everyone, are all at home. 9 straight games at home. That is when Josh Sargent and the team got to figure it out. If you're going to bring a player like him, that he's got to make a splash. There's got to be energy and momentum that you're creating during that. 9 straight games at home.
Wow.
You confirm that for me if you think that's wrong. After that, from what I'm seeing here, they've got 6 straight on the road. So they have to take advantage. And that first home game is against Red Bull New York, who are playing pretty well against Michael Bradley, or for Michael Bradley. So then they got Columbus Crew, then the Rapids, FC Cincinnati again, Austin, Philly, Atlanta, Earthquakes, Inter Miami will be their last one on May 9th, and then they go on the road for 6 straight. Crazy schedule, but you have to maximize your time at home. That's an unbelievable time for Josh Sargent and this team to galvanize their fan base and to say, hey, we got a team that's going to be competitive this year. And if they can't do it in that stretch, then, well, I don't know if the coaching staff will have their jobs for much longer, but that's really where they're going to be tested. And so I guess a lot of the reasons why that I'm seeing now from Avi, BMO Field is going to be used for the World Cup. So the schedule had to be kind of worked around. That makes a lot of sense. But yeah, 9 straight home games. 27 points, probably a little unrealistic, but you got to be getting at least 20 out of those 9 games, at least, if you want to be competitive at the end of it, because you can't count on getting results away from home in this league in particular. So this, interesting signing. And he talked about, we heard from him at the beginning there, Chuck. If he starts to light it up, I know this is all hypothetical and speculating, so you have to play along with me here. But if he starts lighting it up, he had mentioned something about getting back in the World Cup radar for Mauricio Pochettino. Is that even possible, or is he just a pipe dream at this point for this guy?
Pipe dream.
Okay. Good. Nice short answer there from Charlie Davies. We're going to take our second break on the show. You absolutely love it. When we come back, we obviously had some players playing midweek. We'll talk about their performances, and it should be a lot of fun like always, so keep it right here.
This is European soccer's biggest stage.
Written in the stars! What a difference she has made!
The question is, can you handle it?
Can you handle it?
The crowd here feels electric. Stream every match of the UEFA Women's Champions League on Paramount+.
All right, welcome back into the Average to Good show. Call it what you want. Brought to you by Zillow. Someday starts today. I'm Jimmy Conrad alongside Charlie Davies and Tony Miola. And guys, let's get into it. Americans abroad. We had some notable midweek performances, and we're going to lead with someone who hadn't scored a goal in Serie A for 2.5 years. He scored in his last one to break this duck. He scored again. We're talking about Yunus Musah. Scored in his second straight game for Atalanta in leg 1 of the Coppa Italia semifinals against Lazio. 2-2 draw. He scored it late. He's played 49 minutes in his last 2 games, got 2 goals, What an absolute beast. Tyler Adams played full 90 in a 0-0 draw versus Brentford for Bournemouth, which was awesome to see. Anthony Robinson played the full 90, which is even better because he hadn't played in a month. Unfortunately, Fulham lost 1-0 to West Ham. Malik Tillman returned from injury in Bayer Leverkusen's 1-0 win versus Hamburg. He came off the bench in that one. Alex Zendejas subbed on and scored for Club America, but somehow Club America lost to a very bad Juarez team 2-1. In his last 3 games for Club America, that's been stretched out over a couple months due to injuries, Big Tones. He scored in all 3 of those games. So the guy's in good form. Zendejas is a tricky one for him. For me, I should say, in terms of, I think there's enough there. And obviously he scored a goal against Japan and kind of kicked us on to this form that we're currently in with the U.S. men's national team. I still think he's got a good chance of making the roster. I'm just throwing that out there. What do you say, Big Tones?
Yeah, I had him in the last, I don't know, we did a couple weeks ago, last 26, I had him in there. I just think he's a different type of player. And it's a matter of, does Mauricio Pochettino value that type of player, or does he not value him? Does he value, and I think we went back and forth, right, with Gio Reyna in that spot or Zendejas, but Zendejas is such a good player. He's been doing it now. What he's done down in Mexico has been incredible. It's been fun to watch, and I love the profile of Zendejas, right? Because he gives you something. If you have a game, we're going to talk about some of these games over the next couple months, and which games will have the ball, which games we might have less of the ball. If you got a game where you have the ball and you can get it at advanced players' feet, man, I don't know, man. Keeping him off the field is going to be really, really hard unless you have someone else that's doing something special. But yeah, he's had a great. We talked about him a couple months ago. We did a feature on him, and they're talking about him and with regards to number 10s being one of the top number 10s to ever play at this massive club, which is just high enough praise for a guy that's been doing it. Yunus Musah for me is the other story, where he's kind of now emerged as a guy that they're actually relying on in Atalanta to come off the bench. And then he's getting the reward of 2 goals over the last 2 games for some pretty good work, although I still think on the outside looking in right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Chuck, I want to get your thoughts just on the trajectory of Zendejas. Wearing the number 10 shirt, like Big Tone says, for a big club like that is a big deal. And I guess in some ways, the path that Zendejas is on is kind of the path that we all want or hope that Gio Reyna will be on at some point, right? You take the number 10 shirt of a big club, and then you go out there and they count on you, and you want the ownership and the responsibility that comes with wearing that shirt, and you're the guy. And we're seeing Zendejas kind of live that path, and we're kind of hoping, just because he's competing with Gio for a spot, I think is a good apt comparison. I think that has a lot of value, right? Somebody that that can handle that type of pressure and go out there and perform. And so what's your latest temperature on Zendejas? Are you feeling like he'll make the roster?
I feel really confident about his ability and how it fits in with the U.S. men's national team. I'll never forget that beautiful finish against Japan. What a volley, the technique that he has. And you want to think about different player profiles given the type of opponents that you'll have. And so he really fits well into a match where maybe an opponent's sitting back and you need someone who's a little bit more creative, who'll come inside, who's aggressive, but has the vision and the technical ability to break down teams and to unlock defenses that are very stagnant and maybe tough. So I like having him as an option. So again, will he get his opportunity in March? I really hope to see him in camp. And then, it's how does he continue to evolve under Pochettino? But definitely a quality player and someone who has really impressed me over, the past few years, where we were talking about him and he just didn't look like he had the mentality / the physical capability and capacity to be successful at the international level, right? There's players who just fit well in their club system, in the leagues that they're in, but don't necessarily have what it takes to be successful at the international stage. And he has really shown me that he's grown into that player and can have an effect.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. And We're eagerly anticipating the roster drop just to see these names. And speaking of one name in particular, let's get into our player spotlights presented by Zillow. Someday starts today. Big Tones, you mentioned him, Yunus Musah. I feel like we have to highlight him because he's now had this impact. When you have these types of performances and you're making the most of these opportunities like he has been lately with Atalanta, your coaching staff for the national team has to sit up and be like, all right, okay, what else? You know, and I feel like the what else for Yunus Musah is, can he get into the starting 11 and get trusted on a more regular basis where he can start to have more of an impact over a longer period of time? But still, 2 goals in the last 49 minutes is pretty special.
Yeah, it's special for him for sure. In 2 different games, especially Coppa Italia, the draw at the end. I don't know about you. I feel like Yunus Musah is off the radar for Mauricio Pochettino and his staff right now. Like I don't know. It's been like he's really playing catch up right now for me. And
what does he have to do then? What do you think he has to do if you were advising him? Obviously, getting into the team. That's obvious.
He's not even starting yet.
I know. Okay.
Yeah,
Let's say like he's doing some things now that would warrant. Okay, maybe we should get this guy some more minutes. So I guess what I'm saying is, what do you want to see from him tactically that could unsit? And you asked this to Phil earlier about Johnny Cardoso. It's the same question.
Well,
what do you have to see from him to be like, oh crap, he has to be in the team?
You got to see the Yunus Musah of old, and I think first his biggest problem is Johnny Cardoso. Right? What's it now? 4 games in a row, and now he's going to play potentially in a final, which Yunus could play in a final, but they're depending more on Johnny Cardoso. So if you look at both of them, right, 2 different profile of players, but I think equally as effective in what they do when they're playing well. Who right now? Let's just assume for 1 minute that those are the 2 guys that you have to choose from. Like, okay, I'm going to take another number 6. Plays a little bit deeper in the middle of the field. Not a goal scorer per se, although he's got 2 goals here, so we see he's got the ability. But I've got one spot to take those 2 guys because I think that's what it comes down to with those 2 guys.
Yeah, that's a
right now. By the way, I don't see either of them as a 6 though, Tones. Like as a proper 6,
What do you want to make them an 8 next to Tyler? They're going to be next to Tyler Adams.
Okay.
But that means they got to play higher up the field. I don't see him either of them playing higher up the field. Yunus maybe a little bit more than Johnny Cardoso. So they're playing next to Tyler. So call it a 6 and an 8 or call it 2 6s. For me, they're still deeper in this formation for Pochettino. But at this point, who are you going to trust more? If you just had to blindly say, okay, I have to take one of those 2 guys, right? You're going to blindly trust, I think, Johnny Cardoso right now.
Wait. Let me just throw this in there. This is just a wrinkle. And trust me, I might be one of the harshest critics on Yunus Musah because of what his potential and ceiling is. So I'm always comparing him to what he can be and not, he's playing at Atalanta.
That's scary.
Remember, he played
a scary tactic.
Right, but he played in a World Cup already.
I get it.
And was successful, okay? So the experience there, okay? That's 1. 2, he gives you more going forward. Johnny Cardoso has been below average with the U.S.
What does Yunus give you going forward? He's got 1 national team goal, I think. What does he give you?
He gives you more than Johnny going forward. That's all I'm saying.
But does he give you enough to put him in one of those positions?
I actually think Johnny can make the final pass a little bit better than Yunus, man. Yunus can.
I don't know.
Debatable, but I can tell you right now, when Yunus is on the ball, there's not even it's like Everest to
he's
Mount
definitely
Washington.
more dynamic than Johnny. For me, Johnny hasn't played well for the U.S. and Yunus, like outside of playing right back in the Nations League where I thought he struggled,
he did.
Other than that, he's been relatively solid. I got not really much. I don't look at him and go that. When I look at Johnny, I'm like, he just hasn't like kicked on, and I feel like that would maybe get factored in.
And just watching him recently, Tones, if I'm just going to be like, okay, super objective here. I watched Johnny Cardoso for Atletico Madrid in this last game against Barcelona. And I get it's Barcelona. It felt that he was underwater for most of the game. Not that they all were underwater.
I was going to say, was he or were they?
Maybe outside of Antoine Griezmann, who looked like the only player that was really in control. When he didn't look like he panicked, he always felt like he found a solution. But there was nothing there that I was trying to find. I jotted down every single action, every single movement that he had. And there were maybe like 2 really positive moments where he broke up a challenge. But in terms of him on the ball, I was like, I'm not seeing the translation from a guy on the outskirts who's at Atletico Madrid, but outskirts of the national team, taking that huge step forward to say he's got to be in the squad and he's got to play. Because I think there's a difference.
Well, that's a different conversation.
I think getting into March, getting into the March camp, sure, but is he cemented into the team? I think nowhere near. But going back to you, Tones, I think Musah is even far further off the radar, and it's not necessarily down to play. It's about the summer missing out.
I agree.
I agree. And I think Pochettino feeling like he was betrayed a little bit. I think that's what it comes down to is you have an opportunity to come in to represent your country. You don't need a break physically because you didn't play that much anyways at Milan. And the World Cup is not a guarantee for you. So you need to show me you're committed to the country, and you ask for a break. I think that's what really.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to answer the question directly, I agree with what you guys are saying.
Yeah.
If I just had to answer it straight up, one or the other, I would go with Yunus. With all due respect to Johnny and his mustache.
But based on what, though? Because he scored 2 goals in 49 minutes? Is that what we're basing it on?
No, I'm basing it on form with the national team. You got
somebody playing at that
World Cup experience. I get it. You can make a strong argument for that. And I never in a million years thought we would have an American starting regularly for Atletico Madrid. So that continues to blow my mind. Right. But yes, in terms of club form, but I'm just bringing the national team experience and performance level.
Then we got to take Gio Reyna 100%. We got to take Gio Reyna on the team 100%. No matter what he does at the club level, we got to take him because he's been great with the national team.
I get that. I was just answering your question directly between either or. For me, I don't think either one of these guys is going to get called into the March camp.
You don't think Johnny Cardoso is going to get called into the March camp?
I don't know. Yeah. Well, you got Tessman, you got Tyler's back healthy.
I think he's going to get a final look.
I think Berhalter will get in there. I think Roldan will be there. Like at some point, like if those are your guys, and you want those guys to be in, because this is our last shot before the roster gets announced. If you already have made your mind up about Yunus Musah and Johnny Cardoso, then you've made up your mind. Like you just want to now start to build your team and the camaraderie within that team. I wouldn't be surprised if neither of those guys was on, but also a little bit surprised because Johnny starts regularly for Atletico. I mean, we're just talking in circles at this point. But all right,
it's an incredible debate, to be honest, because you got 2 players in Europe. One's playing at Atletico Madrid, kind of finally broke in. And the other one is finally starting to have some sort of impact. He's not starting, but he's scoring, the past 2 games for Atalanta. It feels like he's finally turned a corner at Atalanta in terms of at least getting trusted more. And the more you have an impact off the bench, the more opportunities to play. And people are starting to see his quality there. But what does that mean for Pochettino? That's going to be the question.
I feel like...
Remember, Pochettino spoke glowingly about Yunus when he first came into the team. Oh, I know him from the Arsenal days when I was in London. He's such a quality player. Was playing him in that right wing spot, remember? And we were kind of like, he's not a right winger. Then played him at right back in Nations League. Kind of set him up to fail.
Well, basically finding room for him in his team, right? I mean, that's respect. Like, right. I like this guy so much. I'm just going to find a spot for him on the field as opposed to playing maybe in his best position.
How the tides have turned.
Yes. Well, if you skip a summer, that's going to do it for you. All right, last bit of news here to tie up the show. We're hearing that Cristiano Ronaldo, maybe you've heard of him, is out for 2 to 4 weeks with a hamstring injury, which means he will most likely, reportedly, could potentially, I'm throwing all these words out there to make sure that's possible, he could miss out on the U.S. men's national team friendly on March 31st. I guess the big question here is Portugal a better team without him in it? Because now, obviously, his track record's undeniable, one of the best to ever do it. But the whole team of Portugal revolves around him when he's out there. And I feel like the younger players in particular, which makes sense, they pay deference to him, right? Like, we got to get the ball to Cristiano. It might be a better opportunity for me to shoot, but This guy's going to be in my ear if I don't give it to him.
For Messi? What do you think it was for Messi? You think everybody said, "Oh, I got to get to Messi in the final third"?
No, of course. But Messi can, like, he looks to make the final pass.
Right.
But
there's a difference here. Cristiano Ronaldo, when he's in that Portugal team, he understands now, and I give a lot of credit to Roberto Martinez and how he's had to handle this situation. But he knows he's the exclamation point. You are not involved in the buildup. You stay high and do what you do best. Just finish. We have Nuno Mendes in the left back spot who can just get up there, create for you, and look at that midfield. Look at all the players around him. They are stacked. João Neves, Vitinha. You have Rafael coming off the bench if you want. Bernardo Silva, Bruno Fernandes. Right? No, but you have so much talent in that Portugal side, and now you tell me, and you have a goal scorer in Cristiano Ronaldo, and maybe you have him come off the bench. He's happy to be there, and Cristiano Ronaldo's main goal is to win, to get to the final. Portugal have a side, quality-wise, that could get to a final. No doubt. So imagine, Portugal, Argentina final. That would be the biggest World Cup final of all time. I would have said the last one against France, Argentina would probably go down as the best World Cup final in terms of goals and the action. The anticipation of a Messi-Ronaldo final and Ronaldo trying to get that one trophy he doesn't have to say, hey, I am the best player in the world. That's the only thing that you guys held against me was a World Cup trophy. That would be the stuff of legends. But I think he's in a great situation, given that I think there was the time where you guys have to feed me. I have to be, I need the ball. Now it's just score goals. Just stay up there and score goals. If you get the chance, finish. Otherwise, let us do our thing.
I feel like, Tones, that Portugal becomes more dynamic when Cristiano's not out there. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Listen, I would love Cristiano to play, right? I would love to be able to say after that game, hey, have you seen Cristiano? Because I think he's in Chris Richards' back pocket. Like, I would love that moment. And because he's a little bit more stationary, that's more than possible. But now, when he's not on the field, I think Portugal just, like, how do you slow those guys down? And I just think it's going to provide a different type of challenge for us, which is good. We have to solve problems. And if they identify a vulnerability for us and we get punished for it, good. That's just one more thing we need to fix before we get into the next set of friendlies and before we head into the World Cup. So there's nothing, this whole activity against the top players and top teams, I can't wait. I think we can thrive with it. And even mistakes are going to be positives that we can spin because it'll help us solve that problem later on or before it really matters.
They're loaded regardless.
But they are absolutely stacked. Be a crazy challenge. Our midfield, not only am I curious about the roster, you guys, I'm also curious about the starting 11 because trying to slow down a João Neves and a Vitinha, Bruno Fernandes, then you got, as you mentioned, Nuno Mendes on the left side bombing forward, and I don't know who they're going to put on the right side. They've got a whole bunch of options. It's crazy. It's crazy how good they are. And so I really am excited just for these games in particular. But go ahead, Big Tones. I'm hogging the mic right now.
Yeah, they went through all of this, right, in the last World Cup. They went through it in the Euros. Are they better with Cristiano Ronaldo without? I mean, Gonzalo Ramos is the guy that they put in for Cristiano Ronaldo in the last World Cup, right?
I just don't think he's that level, but he can score goals.
But he also, there's a lot of PSG guys on this team, so there might be some familiarity with.
Yeah, there might be. I just think that Cristiano Ronaldo's probably in a different place in his head, right? This is his last opportunity to win the World Cup. I'm with Charlie. They're one of the favorites for me in the competition. Would be no surprise if they're in a World Cup final. And much like we saw, over the years, like we used to talk about Michael Jordan, right? When Michael Jordan figured out how to get everybody involved, like that's when he started to win championships. This is his last chance that he doesn't have to put this whole team on his shoulders.
No,
right? He has to be part of the group, right? And a big part for sure. But you mentioned just by virtue of having Vitinha and Bruno Fernandes in the midfield, like you already know you're going to get service. Forget about Nuno Mendes coming from one side. Forget about what's happening in and around you. Defensively, they're solid. And I think Roberto Martinez has addressed Cristiano Ronaldo a couple times over the last year or so in talking about the fact that they need to know how to integrate him. He's still an important part of the team. And players have come out much like they did with Lionel Messi. So we're playing for him. right?
Mm-hmm.
We're playing to get him a World Cup trophy. I think this Portugal side is going to be incredible. Problem is they don't have João Felix, who's at the same level that he was. There's other guys. If they had a Rafa Leao that could actually play as a number 9, right, and stretch the field like he does, which it's really not his position, I think this Portugal team would line up a little bit differently, and maybe they would rest Cristiano Ronaldo for a game in the first round, whatever. But they may have to do it now. Who knows how bad the injury is? They may have to deal with them and deal with that issue a little bit sooner than maybe they thought.
Yeah, we're a little wait and see. So it's going to be a great game. I can't wait for it. March 31st. We'll obviously be doing something special around it because that's what we do here on Call It What You Want. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. As always, if you're listening on your podcast platform of choice, we really appreciate you. Golasso America YouTube channel, Golasso Network. It's been an absolute pleasure. We're going to be back with you on Tuesday, 10 a.m. Eastern. So come back and hang out with us then live. That's it for us. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. See you soon. Thank you, Zillow. Later.
Of course.